Welcome back to another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. Today, I'm super excited to sit down with Casey Hege, who has an extensive insurance background, is the director of marketing at Salt Insure. That's correct? So she is originally from Grapevine, Texas, and now lives in New Braunfels, Texas. So Casey, I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited as well. Hope we get into some good conversation here.
I know we're going to. We're going to. As I've mentioned on a couple past episodes, I'm a recent user of the SALT program. Super happy with it. It's been an immediate game changer in our agency. And it's one of these programs that I've adopted, that I've said, why didn't I do this earlier? Which not all of them are like that. That's not all of our experience. So I've just been so happy with the product and the service that we've had. So kind of like to share it with the rest of my audience. And I've been really happy with you and how the onboarding process. So I just want to share it with everybody. So before we get into all that, let's give a little background onto Casey, how you got into the insurance industry and bring us up to your position now.
Awesome. That is my favorite question to ask people. Like, how did you get into insurance? Yeah. And there's so many inputs and ways to get here. And I love hearing everyone's story. So mine's pretty cool. It's, I was working for General Electric in their appliance division, and they moved me around quite a bit after I graduated Texas A&M University. I was like, I'm out of Texas. I'm going to go renegade because nobody ever leaves Texas. Once you're native, you just don't leave. And I was like, I need to see something different. I need to test my own limits. I need to get out there. So I moved to Louisville, Kentucky. It's not that different, but it's where GE Appliances was headquartered. I was in their leadership program. And then, so that wasn't tough enough. So I decided I'm going to stretch myself again. And they moved me out to Northern California, where I knew not a soul. And quite a different culture and landscape than anything I'd ever seen before. This was sight unseen move too.
What part of Northern California?
I was in the Bay Area, so just south of San Jose and Los Gatos is where I lived.
Okay.
And I had a
my brother lives out there. Yeah.
Oh wow, it is amazingly beautiful. But my sales territory was like all the way to Santa Rosa in the Napa area, down to like Gilroy South. So I had a ton of geography. I was crossing the Golden Gate Bridge as part of my sales territory, So for a little Texas girl, that was both eye-opening and awesome all at the same time. Somehow I later on, when I met my husband, convinced him to go back there to Napa and get married. We had our wedding in a vineyard. Wow. And so we're actually headed there. Our 19th wedding anniversary was Saturday. So we're headed back to Napa in October.
Congratulations.
Between conferences. Thank you. So anyhow, I made my way back to Texas. My cousin, who is the current CEO of Box Companies, which is its origin as an insurance agency, started recruiting me, saw that GE Appliances was going to be on the auction block pretty soon. GE was tired of being in the manufacturing business and didn't want to compete with the offshore companies that were building much cheaper than we could stateside. So anyhow, he read in the Wall Street Journal that GE was getting rid of the appliance division. So he picked up the phone and called me. He had recently purchased his agency from his mom. So it's called Box Insurance Agency. The Box family owned it from 1920 till 1978. My Aunt Kleinine bought it in 1978. She had that's the same year Dustin and I were born. We're the exact same age and cousins. Dustin Parker, I don't know if I mentioned his name earlier, but yes. Yeah. And so he recruited me to come do something at the agency. He didn't really know yet, but he thought I would be a talent ad and would figure out what I would do once I got there. So that is how I got into the insurance space. And then fast forward, a decade later, well, it's 2008 to 2020 is my journey with Box Insurance Agency. We started 4 other businesses, incubated some of them, purchased one of them. And I ended up leading our parent company efforts to help all of those businesses get unstuck when they were stuck. for lack of a better way to describe it. Kind of an operational brand champion, I guess you could say, at the parent company level. And then COVID hit. So that, I'll end there, but that's kind of my background. And then how we got to Salt would be probably your next question, but I'll let you.
Yeah. So let me ask you, a couple questions. That you were in the insurance space for a long time.
Yeah.
One, I'm curious if you miss it. Was it hard to leave your position because you were eventually went to be president of Box Insurance, and so I think you were in the president role for a long time.
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like, and what was it like to leave something that you probably built a lot into that insurance space?
Yeah, I think there's probably two dynamics going on there. If I look back on my career, I'm always looking to be stretched. I'm always looking. Never am I good at just sitting and being comfortable. So I think that played into it a little bit. Just that's my nature. Always not necessarily looking to start something new, but be a part of something new. I wouldn't call me an entrepreneur, like a inventor, if you will, but an innovator. I like taking something that's got some legs and bringing it there. Whereas our agency was kind of at a crossroads. Like so we were made up of what we called box retail. So more of the home and auto small business. We packaged that together. So our staff not only wrote the auto for business owners, we rounded it out with home, auto, umbrella, anything that a business owner needed. We called it Experience 360 degrees of protection. And actually got that service marked by the government. So it was ours. Experience 360 protection. We didn't want to write any monoline business. That was off limits. But we had a small business community that was thriving in our town in Grapevine. And we wanted to help that business owner figure out what other risks they had, and they're small business owners. They're like us, insurance agents doing everything, and they don't have time to think about risk. So we wanted to bring that kind of expertise to that small business community. We also had a middle market commercial business that was kind of defining itself, though it was probably 30 years old. The large commercial business. We were still generalists, which I think is dangerous. For us, we had to figure out, what are we really good at? Let's capitalize on that, and then let's go after it. So for us, it was construction, crane and rigging, very high risk, insurance.
Yeah.
Space, schools and churches, and I forget the other two off the top of my head, but really defining and carving out and finding experts in those fields, both from a production standpoint, a staffing standpoint, and a leader. So we were grooming someone to lead that business, which meant I needed to go somewhere else, right? So it was not a business that I was interested in running long term. I love insurance. What I love about insurance is people. I don't love contracts. I don't love the technical, I can read a contract and I've been trained. It's not my love language. And so I found myself just kind of doing it and not thriving in it. And so kind of moved back into more of a leadership oversight role, found a president for Box Insurance Agency, actually sold our small business, home and auto over time. And that is pretty much what seeded our, the investment into Salt. So kind of, if I look back, it wasn't that congruent, like it wasn't that linear, I guess, but that is how we got there. So
as the innovator, did you try to or make a bunch of changes along the way? I can see when you entered in 2008, and I think anybody with sort of a forward thinking and tech leaning mindset is going to look in and say there has to be a better way for us to do this.
I got my MBA at TCU, and so I had a great local network, and I would have business leaders and business owners stop by the agency at the time, and even just to say hi or get a quote, whatever. And I remember one of them in particular, like, how do you work here? It was like, it felt like a medical office, like all sheetrock, just an old building, no visibility from office to office. And there was a huge reception desk in the middle, just very old school. And I didn't even know it, because I'm one of those people that, I wouldn't say I'm content, but I'll get in there and I'll get, comfortable with what we have and make the best of it, optimize what we have. And so I kind of had blinders on towards it. But I remember him saying, like, it's just this stuffy office, And so within, I think, a year, we had totally blown out all the sheetrock. It was full of glass, visibility, open, just beautiful office, So I can see now that I was feeling a little stuffy. Like, it was an industry I thought was so far behind, and even the aesthetics of our office pointed to that, And then, I mean, nothing against TAM, but that's the agency management system we were on since, I think, 1997. And I walked in 2008, and, obviously Epic is now the product of choice, and we've made our transition there. But even the systems we were working off were very disjointed, and I didn't necessarily have the expertise to fix it, but like you said, I knew there had to be a better way. So we just started iterating on that, ideating and iterating.
Isn't that kind of fun, though, to sort of fumble your way through it? Like, that you need to solve a problem.
Yes.
And at least, that's the way that I've done it for the past, 10 years of drastically trying to improve, is that I know that there's other solutions. And for me, I didn't always go about the best way of either seeking help, or I was just jump in and let's try and figure this out.
Yeah.
But at least you felt like you were moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Not stuck.
Yeah. So how was SALT originated?
So back in probably 2016, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we were dabbling in some health insurance, which was a mistake. But Blue Cross Blue Shield came out with this, like, sort of virtual interview process for the consumer, kind of guiding them through a process, but it was all online, so you could buy your individual insurance online, but you had this virtual assistant basically kind of asking you the right questions and helping you think through that. And we were like, we need something like this for home and auto insurance.
Yeah.
Our clients need a guide, and we don't need to have to be the ones to do it. We can craft our protection interview through a digital format, so we just started thinking about how to get that done. All the while, I'm leading the agency operationally, and, really as president, revenue growth, all things agency. And Dustin kind of used this time to be a visionary on, it was not called SALT at the time, it was called CHAI. Actually, CHAI is Hebrew for life. And so we called it CHAI, and he has a way to say it in a Hebrew accent that I can't do for you. But when we tried to buy CHAI.com, somebody wanted $5 million for it. And so we thought, probably not worth our efforts. And so we went back to the drawing table and hired a marketing firm to help us rename and rebrand this thing for our own agency. This was going to be an internal use of gathering home and auto information, guiding our consumer through what we call the 360 protection interview, offering them questions that they may not have thought about, and trying to take the insurance ease out of it. That technical jargon that we all use because we get so comfortable with it. So many acronyms and so many things. So it takes time to peel that back. How does a consumer look at this? How do they feel? And how are they want to be treated in this purchase process? So that's kind of where it came from, was modeling it after that random Blue Cross Blue Shield thing we came across. But I will give credit where credit's due. Dustin was really the visionary of SALT, took it to a technology firm out of Dallas that built us a prototype, took his ideas, gave it legs, gave it something to start using. And then I was more of an advisor on, what are the things you're seeing that our clients are asking for? Like, what are the questions we have to go into our radar? Being the agent in the trenches, hearing what our staff needs are to help this thing start to mold into what it is today. So that is the origin of Salt.
And so even at that point, even when you took it to the tech company to, develop it, it was still, the intention was still to be used internally?
Yeah, it's a great story. So we set up another LLC. We sold the traditional home and auto book, like I told you earlier, to another agency in Dallas, and really said, we're going to be this digital agency. We're going to go after this kind of market. Well, we didn't realize that getting to the top of a Google search costs a lot of money in the insurance space. And so we totally underestimated that. I'll put that out there. So we were plugging along a little bit, and we had reached our, I guess, knowledge cap on technology, keeping it running, knowing all the, PII, all the things that go into tech. So we actually brought on Jonathan Simmons, our current co-founder and CEO of Salt, to get us to the next level. We were stuck. It was a form. It got sent to our radar, and that's about it. Jonathan came to us with an extensive background in product design. He's a software engineer, kind of self-taught, basically, but he's a brilliant product guy. And I didn't even know what a product guy meant. So I had him spend lots of time with me, helping me understand what a product guy is. Basically, he's the translator of, hey, we need this, and the engineers how to build this, and making that make sense for everyone. So he can kind of take what our needs were and make it a reality with our development team. So he came on contract at first. I was actually his boss. And then when I left the company, he called me back about a year and a half later and said, hey, Salt's really got something here. I need you to come run sales and marketing for me. So that was in 2021. So I was gone for about a year and a half, I believe, 2020 and 2021. So
was that a hard decision?
Yeah. I'm a believer, and the Lord audibly told me that it was time for me to stretch and do the next thing. So I sold I gave my ownership back, and I had a payout. And my husband was kind of at a crossroads in his career too. We wanted to start a home building company. And during COVID, we're both working from home, much like we are today. And we realized we liked bouncing ideas off each other for each other's respective businesses. So we thought, now's the time. We've got time to reset, retool. My daughter was entering her freshman year in high school, and wasn't too crazy about the middle school she attended. So she was all game to get going.
Yeah.
And then the other one was kind of little. I think she was entering fourth grade, so she was fine for whatever. And like I said, we were coming to visit where we live now once a month. So my girls were very excited about making the change. It's a bit slower pace of life than Dallas-Fort Worth area. We were kind of in search of a different quality of life where we didn't feel so much hustle all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're more rural than we were, but there's urban sprawl going on here too. It's between Austin and San Antonio, so they're kind of squeezing us in where we are. But still a bit slower pace of life.
Yeah.
So all of that kind of, I think when you make a big life decision like that, there's not one thing, right? There's 5 reasons we did it. But I did hear from the Lord, spend a lot of time in prayer about it. My girls were in a good spot to make the transition, and Kyle wanted to start his own business down here. So it was a good time.
Yeah,
Has
good.
it been easy and perfect? No, not. What do they say? Like
never is.
Never is. Yeah. But
so before I go any further, I don't want to gloss over, and maybe for those that are listening, can you describe what the Salt platform is? Who people that don't know what it is? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll start with why. Or as a leader, one of the things I like to do with the people that work for me or follow me is get them unstuck, remove obstacles for them that are keeping them held back. And so every quarter, I sat down with the team and figure out what is stalling you out. What are the things that are keeping you from enjoying work, doing more, getting life out of what you do every day. And one of them was just quote intake. The amount of data points that our carrier partners and then our raters by default are requiring to get a quote is time consuming.
Yeah.
And they were professionals. We hired professionals that wanted to be working with clients, consulting them and offering them a better deal and a better package and a better coverage than they had before. That's what they loved. And so we were intent on getting them unstuck. And one of the biggest problems was the amount of time it was taking to get a quote out the door. And like I said, we didn't write monoline. So this is home, auto, umbrella, the full works. They have rental properties, everything. We're spending 2-3 hours to get something quality out the door. And if I think about the steps involved, we had this beautiful printed out fact finder, with our brand at the top.
Yeah.
It was, top notch. But there's probably 200 data points on there that they were capturing every time. Although, pet peeve of mine, the one thing they missed every time was, how did you hear about us? And so we've built SALT around that pain point as an owner, figuring out where's our business coming from. So that quote intake process, sending that data into a rater, sending it somewhere, to where we're not having to key it in every time. So taking all the information down could have been a 30-45 minute process. Honestly, we were very relational. The community would walk in at the time. We still had the call-ins, so very community facing. And when they sat down with you, your door was open, right? And you look at an hour later,
Correct.
Still don't have a quote.
That's right. You just started.
So we're just trying to speed up that process. We also wanted to, our book was aging, and we wanted to lower the age of who we were working with. And millennials coming into the market, they're the ones acquiring things that need risk management. And so we know they're as busy as we are. They don't want to come to our office between our hours of 8 and 4 and call in and sit on the phone and be interrogated about insurance. Let's
not
make
to mention,
this better.
they won't.
And
they won't.
We're missing out on a whole market share. Yes. So SALT accomplished, reducing the amount of time and frustration of gathering the information, sending the information where it needed to go, and also meeting a buyer where they are, at home, on the couch with a glass of wine, on their phone, looking for insurance, So that was our goal.
Yeah. So let's talk about the evolution of it. Did it start with just the kind of digital data collection, and then were the other integrations included right away, or did those come afterwards? And let's touch on those, because I think those are very, very important.
So 2 different, I guess, journeys there. When we were using it internally, I knew that I wanted all that data to go into our rater, which was EasyLinks at the time. And so I became, I switched everything, EasyLinks AMS, EasyLinks Rater, Retention Center, Sales Center. I bought it all because I wanted one place for that data to go. And I wanted our form to front end it. And so we did the mapping process for that data. But when I sat down with Jonathan, and I failed to mention this earlier, when we hired him to come in and kind of level up our technology and rebuild the application, basically, I'll tell that story in a second. We sat down at Starbucks for our first meeting. It was an intro from the last guy who was helping us. And he turned to me and he said, "Nice to meet you, Casey. I think this should be a SaaS product." Meaning, let's pivot this thing and sell to other agents. And
so up to that point, you had no intention of selling this. Okay.
No, it was going to be our agency. We're just going to do it differently and more efficiently.
Yeah.
But so he sat down. I remember, do I like this guy? He just crushed all of my dreams. But what's lovely about Jonathan is he's straight to the point. There's no BS. We got there quick. So we started messing around with that idea of totally changing that and becoming a SaaS product and offering it to the independent agent channel, which we care very much about. Part of our passion is just to help perpetuate our distribution channel. We want independent agents to have the tools they need.
Yeah.
Do we think salt's everything to every agent? No, but we're offering this one thing in this one area that we felt like was a big pain point in our agency.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
and
100%.
then, once he pivoted the product, I had a million lines of code supposedly that didn't do very much because I was working with an offshore company. And if you've ever heard the phrase blind leading the blind, that's what it was. I'm an agent, I've got some business background, no technology, how to lead a project management team over in Croatia because of the price point that they were at was foolish, honestly. So Jonathan had to get in there and kind of retool it pretty much. And that took about a year and a half. So when he called me back onto the team, he had gotten his EasyLinks integration set up for a multi-tenant solution. So back in the day, it was just a single tenant, box, 2 EasyLinks. Now we're asking them to take in hundreds of submissions from agencies across the U.S. So much different solution than we had originally built.
Yeah. So that's the one key integration, which is once that this form is completed, the data, and I believe you say 90 to 95% is converted over to EasyLinks. And for those listening, as a user, I can confirm that is a true statement that it is converted over, because so many of us that do these, do demos and take on these, new pieces of tech, and not that we're misinformed, but it takes a lot to get to that. Well, this is something that is truly converted over to EasyLinks. I don't know if you're on, PL Rater as well. But it is. So in terms of it, that's one massive, massive time saver, and it solves one of our major problems with all of our pieces of tech, is eliminating duplication.
Yeah. And unstructured data. I've been hearing that term a lot on these podcasts, yours and others, that we've got pen and paper app over here. We've got a Post-it note over here. We've got a text from the insured over here, because we do insure our fans, friends, and family, good, bad, or ugly. And then we've got an email somewhere that's floating around. So what I think Salt is becoming for agencies is a submission hub.
Yes.
It's the place where you put the data. It is structured. It's all there, and then send it where you need it. So to your question, yes, PL rating, that was our second integration. The beautiful thing, and how much favor I feel like Salt has, is we were always EasyLinks users, or Rater users, and they're about 15 minutes from our agency, their headquarters at the time. So we just had that ability to meet with the right people quickly, even before Zoom became a thing. Now it's, we got face-to-face meetings with them. They were our first integration. They were full on Salt. They don't want to build and support a consumer form. So it had a lot of alignment. And then they got bought by Applied, who also didn't want to build a consumer form. And so we have an integration with their Rater product, Epic Quotes, as well. So EasyLinks, PL rating, Epic Quotes. We have a Zapier, which I hear is very robust. I don't know if you've used it and mapped that data anywhere else, but it works beautifully with CRMs like Agency Zoom and InsuredMine. So we want you to get the data where you need it. That's our ultimate goal.
Yeah. And you touched on it there, which is was a pain point in our office for me. And this is a lot on me, is that for not having a better, more clear process, is that oftentimes, an agency, there might be 4 different CSRs that are taking 4 different
ways,
approaches to collecting the data.
Yeah.
And sometimes that, it's obviously it's not the best way. It's not one way. It's not easy to, back up or find someone's information. Sometimes if it's handwritten, it's not easy to read their writing. So for me, I looked at this and I saw this as an immediate solution. And as soon as we took it on, I said, this is our process.
Yeah.
You want to initially, to either, and there's 2 ways to collect this data. Either we can, send a link, send a QR code where the prospect will fill out the information, or you can do that internally. You receive a call and you can take that information. There is a would that be considered like an agency face?
We call it like agency generated.
Yeah. And fill out. And again, it's very simple. The platform is very clean. So it's very clean for the prospect as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, it is in plain language. It is easy to use. It's not overwhelming. There's not a form of 50 questions to fill out. It's 1 or 2 at a time. It's
because they won't do that either, right? If they have to scroll, they're out. So we're all spoiled.
It's very well done. So I said this is what we're doing it, because this also kicks off the rest of where we want it. It integrates into Agency Zoom to start a new customer profile, and it integrates all the information over into Easy Links. That's massive. Yeah. So for our office, this process, it was a game changer immediately from when we took it on, and a time saver. Yeah. So easy, the integration to Easy Links is one piece of it. Let's talk about the other integrations of using, whether it's public data, to fill in some of the information as the customer is doing this, so they don't have to fill in all their information. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we have 2 data partners that we've selected, one for auto, one for property. So they're very different animals, and we've chosen Finris for auto, and Estated is the company that we get our property data from. So what I think it does, it enriches the customer experience. People, to your point, will not fill out a long form that they're having to scroll through like a medical office form.
Yeah.
They just won't do it. Insurance isn't that important to them. It's not life or death. And they've got many options out there, right?
Yeah.
There's many, many options. And so the data that we receive back totally enriches the customer's experience, I believe. But it also provides that central hub of data for the agent. Now you've got a really stacked payload of data that we're delivering to your SALT dashboard. I remember as an agent having like 6 or 7, maybe more screens open to get this done. That it was Zillow to find out details of the home that I forgot to ask while I was on the phone with them, or Google Earth, trying to see the quality of the home. Oh, it's a county appraisal district, obviously. So now I feel like we've partnered with a data partner that can pull all of that together for you, give you the construction type, give you the is it a hip or gable roof? Your insured doesn't know that. There's aren't questions you can ask them. And so we're using a little bit of that big data that's available to pull into the process, both for the prospect's experience and the agent, not having to open all of those screens to get what they need to get a quote done. I also am a firm believer that carriers choose us because we're frontline underwriters. Yes, we are their sales and we're their distribution channel. We're also the ones protecting their profitability, and they reward us and they penalize us, don't they, for that profitability. You can only, in my mind, do that by vetting a customer and finding out all of these details. And so what SALT is a way to get in, like, self-reported, informed applications from your insured using big data, using a good, clean experience for them, but having them verify it. From a deck page, I love deck pages. Do not get me wrong. I love them. And we offer them within the SALT platform now, because I've been pushing for deck pages since day one.
Yeah.
Jonathan's like, what's a deck page? Consumers don't know what that is. And I said, but we do. And agents are our customers. Oh man, I used to love them. If they were attached to my email, I'd print them off, put them up to the light, because they always blacked out the pricing, but I always thought of it as a supplement to my underwriting file, not as the underwriting file. I feel like we're getting too comfortable quoting off of what another agent did. That agent and that deck page does not tell you if they have a trampoline, typically. Correct. It does not tell you if they have a dog that possibly could be an aggressive breed. It doesn't tell you, if the pool has a fence. It may tell you if it has a pool. I know deck pages a little more information probably than my day, but I love the fact that you're getting a good idea of what the insured has, their risk, their lifestyle from their own, not mouth, but digital form. And supplementing that with the deck page if that's part of your process. So that's kind of my soapbox about information gathering. I think our carrier partners believe, and we're held to a standard of getting good information today, current today information, which could be very different from what that deck page might tell you. So,
correct.
Yeah. So
it also, to touch, just to back up a little bit as far as the information, square footage is often one that can be difficult to get information on. So we can use that. And I don't do a lot of producing in our office anymore, but I kind of dabble in it, and I've gotten to know the form. From what I found, that's been very accurate information, but it's very easy to say, well, I show here that, your home is 3,000 square feet, a 2-story home. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
It also kind of gives them a little bit of guidance. And ask questions about how old your roof is, and that's put in there when the prospect fills that out. And if you're ever, questioned on where did you get that information for this discount, here it is.
Right here. Yeah.
The touching on the deck page piece of it. And we've been a lot more intentional about getting the deck page as a way of selling.
Yeah.
And working with the customer, because in this market, we're seeing all kinds of different coverage. And sometimes prospect doesn't know that they have a $10,000 wind and hail deductible. Oh, well, that's why it's a few dollars cheaper.
Right.
Do you want that?
You're self-insuring your roof. Did you know that?
I can provide that for you too, but it also gives us a chance to be, the advisor that we should.
Absolutely. We're taught in school, in producer school, that you don't quote apples to apples. You don't. You go in, you figure out, like, you're giving your second opinion, like a doctor, so don't treat it like I'm just going to quote what they have.
And the deck page feature, again, just like the rest of the program. So I'll give some props. There's a Jonathan, did you say, who built this out?
Yeah, so we partner with FIS. They're the vendor that we use for deck pages. He and his team built the integration to make it a smooth information gathering process where the insured doesn't feel like it's not a cold ask. They're not just, here, give me your deck page. We've had a conversation with them digitally, and now we're like, if you'd like to provide your deck page, here you go. So
that is also done. It's very easy. It's a couple clicks. Would you like to provide this? For those who aren't familiar with it, it just flows right into the rest of the, quote process, where I forget the exact language, but it's well communicated, where a customer can click to add their deck page, takes them right to a platform. They have to put in who they have their current insured with. Let's just say it's Nationwide. You start typing in Nationwide, it pre-fills for you. You click on that button, it brings you right to your online account where you sign in. Boom, it's sent over.
Yeah.
So it's easy. Everything about this is easy. Correct.
Yeah, it has to be easy. You're right.
And even with that, I love the piece of, because sometimes people will bypass that. Yeah. Well, even if they do, as you get into the process and you want to go back to it, it's really easy to go back to their file in Salt and say, here, I'm going to send you this again, so you can send us your deck page so we can actually see what you have. We can see if you have replacement cost on your roof, whatever it is. Maybe after you gain a little bit of trust.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's easy to go back. The whole thing about the platform is easy. Yeah. And that's what we need. That's what everybody wants.
Yeah. It's almost, I I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our challenges, and one of them it's almost too easy. People don't believe it. It's like we're overselling it, but it is. It is a plug and play instant, impact on your agency. But I will say this, what we underestimated when we went to market is how much we affect a process. And, agencies are built on process and workflow. If they're not, they need to be. And I think the intentionality of understanding what are your processes today, where is the pain, and then building a process that makes sense for you, your agency, and your customer. And just intentionality is the word I would use. Just, you have to spend time there and then go find a solution that plugs in your gaps. And I believe Salt is one of those. Are we a fit for everyone? Probably not. As the sales and marketing director, I wish we were. There's 40,000 agents out there. I'm working on it, but we're not, especially if they haven't examined their own process. And then shiny new toy syndrome, they, subscribe to our free trial, and it's like, well, I don't know where to put it. My CSRs won't use it. Well, no kidding, because you didn't even tell them it was coming. You just hit them in the face with it, So I think there's a lot of ways to do it, but I do believe that agents need to open the box, see what they got, and redesign if needed, and then figure out what solutions they're looking for. And I'll put a plug in for a company called Catalyst that we're actually a partner with. They do a tech assessment for agencies that just are kind of clueless. Like, I don't know what I have. I don't know where I'm going. And then they'll help kind of understand where an agent's goals are, what an agent's goals are, and how to build that, workflow and process, including automation and technology solutions. So there's resources out there, but I think I fall into consultant mode a lot when I'm on these demos, because I'm like, I want to help you think, agents think differently and spend time to think about it. I think we're busy,
I think you should.
We don't. Yeah.
I think you should, because you have that knowledge and you know what you're talking about. And
I think I do. But I don't know if anyone else
really
does.
Good.
Thanks, Brad.
There are a lot of agencies that need help. There are.
Yeah.
And if they're open to it, I think you should be providing some of those answers. And I don't know if it's a matter of some that are afraid to, reach out or expose themselves. I don't know.
Busy. I think busy is the word of the day. Just time blocking is one of the most useful disciplines in my professional life. But I think it could be, here's when I work on technology. Here's when I focus on this one pain point in my agency, and blocking off time for that. I think we're just putting out fires all the time. There's a claim here. I get it, but I think time blocking could be really powerful for agencies.
As owners, as leaders in any organization, we have to have our eyes forward.
Yeah.
And
looking up over the hill.
Things like correct, especially now. Not to steal, Patrick McBride's thunder, but we do need a modernized experience.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the Amazon treatment. Everybody.
It's amazing, Brad. Let me tell you. There's a Roaring 20s party next week at IAOA. I've got Roaring 20s accessories at my door that I ordered last night. Mind blowing from how we grew up. How is this possible?
I'm still astonished at Amazon sometimes, but let's move on. So I do want to touch on a few things before we jump off. So you built out this program, you have it, you established, we're going to put it to market.
Yeah.
And that's your job.
Yeah.
What has that process been like? Because I know that us as the agency force, we can be an interesting group.
Okay, let's go there.
So what was it like trying to push this out to market?
Man, I was in one of our strategic partners conference a couple weeks ago, and they had a tech panel. And the moderator is Chris Klein. I think he works for the Big I National, and he said this, and there's no truer way to say our journey. If you've met one independent agent, you've met one independent agent.
I love that. I do love that.
I mean, we're independent for a reason, you know, and I would describe us as scrappy. Like, we're just going to figure it out. You know, we're going to get in there and figure it out. So that is a challenge from a go-to-market strategy. Like, you know, and they're all different. They're size, shape, priorities, you know, and so we spend our first like 10, 15 minutes on our demos just understanding like where your agency is, where do you want to go, so that it may not be a fit. To my point earlier, let's talk about it. And or the timing may not be right for you to start paying for a subscription you don't need. So we try to work through those things with realistic expectations. Of course, we want to sell a trial and convert agencies. We think salt's the magic, but it does take intentionality behind the agency. So yes, that's been a challenge. One of the, I guess, classes of business that we have some, but we don't have a lot of, is more enterprise, you know, bank-owned agencies, larger scale agencies. But that's one of our goals, is to figure out, you know, a pricing model that makes sense and a user, you know, platform that makes sense for that different type of agency. I think our sweet spot right now is kind of scratch to 10, 15 users. That's probably the majority of who we're helping right now.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a product that is it just about 2 years old?
Yeah. So right? We, when we got our Easy Links integration was really what kind of set our go-to-market. And we had, that was May of 21. So we're a little over 2 years about what our true go-to-market launch. And then I came back in August of 21. We had 28 users. And so we're much bigger than that now. We are at a point where we need to scale. It's time, you know, to not be so scrappy and to be and scale mindset. So we're actually bringing on an industry kind of fractional sales director coming from, like what I mean from industry, coming from our industry. So we have our onboarding with them tomorrow to kind of help us examine our sales process, help us reach the buyer that makes most sense for us, and how to get that lead in front of the right, you know, demo specialist. So anyway, that's where Salt is today. You had questions about our future too, like where products going.
I do. I have that's the last one, and I'll enter this. And here's my, and I don't throw these endorsements out very easily, because I just won't put my name on something that I don't think is.
Well, I did your demo, and I remember thinking, this guy's hard.
Is that what you thought?
I was like, I'm not going to win him over. But coming from a referral of a good friend, Patrick McBride, I think helped us have a leg up, right?
Did you think hard or cheap? Because
smart and not going to just turn on a free trial today. I'll put it. Here's not why. The one and done sell.
And I think this is
intentional.
I think this is decent advice that I've decided upon, you know, years ago, is that I won't look at a product or really consider a product unless I know that I have that I have a process built around it.
Yeah.
How I'm going to use it, how I'm going to integrate my team with it, and you know, how it's going to work within our agency. So for example, you know, we talked about, we're, you know, both going to the innovation conference next week.
Maybe.
I don't know. And this has been, I know I'm not really going to look at anything right now. I'm just not interested in taking anything on. And that's probably the mindset that I had going into this. And so I did the demo with you, and I saw the instant value to it, to be quite honest. And I saw how this could improve our agency right now.
Yeah.
And it has. And my endorsement is that I understand that as agency owners, especially, you know, early on, you have to run on a lean budget. So not everything's going to work, and that's what it is. My opinion is that you have to have obviously you have to have a management system. Maybe next should be a CRM. You know, well, it definitely should be. You need those. This is one of those, in my opinions, of a must-have.
Okay.
And I either just told someone, or maybe I posted about it. I don't know. But because it makes such a difference for this, you know, data collection, to your point of the time saving, it saves your team time. With the integration, it avoids duplication. That's been a pain point of mine, is, you know, we're duct taping all these programs together, and I'm not smart enough to figure out how do we avoid these these, the duplication
Redundant.
of all these. Correct.
Yeah.
So this eliminates that. That's why I'm so impressed with it. So I would strongly recommend it to those that it fits in your budget. It's going to help your agency. So last question before we let you go, I think any tech company, this world of tech changes so fast. And which is why I think we need to adapt as agency owners. We need to learn to adapt with the times. So with a tech company, can you talk about what's next or what you're looking at for Salt and how to improve it? Yeah, awesome.
It's so exciting for me. Several thoughts there. When we first started building Salt, we kind of use the metaphor of building a home. It's always going to cost more money and be longer because it has these disruptions, distractions, issues that you never, ever predicted. But I actually think it's much different than building a home because we're in the home building business because a home gets done. And then you probably don't have to remodel for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Not software. You agents have a lot of opinions on what it should do and where we should be going. And so we are trying to do our best with a very small team. We're a team of 7 that to capture in a good way all the things agents need. What I love about our setup is that we're tech-led. That's very different from most of the Insuretech firms out there. Jonathan is not an agent. He is a CEO and he is a product guy, to use my language from earlier. But what he does is he values our agency experience as well as our ability to translate what agents are saying, prioritize it, and then give it to him and say, hey, we really need this. This would change things. So what we're doing right now, we're calling it our fall release. What we're guilty of is like putting so much into our product release that we do about 2 a year. And this one's coming out next week, hopefully in advance of IAOA. Yes. So I hope I'm okay to say that, but
this will be out after that. So for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think we'll release it Sunday after the conference.
Okay.
But with ability to show conference attendees and our demos what we're doing. So it is pretty consistent, a need for more questions. We talked about independent agents. They all have a different level of underwriting that they require before they'll send out a quote. So they just want more configuration on the form. We need this question. There's also different regions of the country. We built this for a Texas agency. Every state has some different, auto laws, especially different deductibles. And so what we went back to redesign was the ability for us to add more questions quickly. So when we hear a need, we're able to add it. And then the user interface for the agent to be able to build their own form in a much more choose your own adventure way. No, it's not totally customizable, because if it were customizable, you'd be using a jot form, a type form. We can't build a good user experience for your prospects unless we control the inputs and the outputs of where it's going. And so what we're doing is adding a lot more configurability to the form. So you're building it as you need it. You're turning things on and off. You can change the headline and the subtext. So if you don't like what we've defaulted for you, you can change it so you don't look like the guy down the street, So that's really our next big effort, is to get closer to customized forms for our agency subscriber base.
Okay, nice. That's great. And it is a little bit customizable now.
Yeah, a little bit.
You do have some fluctuation, because I noticed that right away, that some of the questions weren't necessarily pertaining to, which is easy. It was easy enough to remove. I could figure it out. So
foundation coverage, that is a Texas endorsement that has to be added to every policy if you care about foundation coverage. So yes, so we're just building out more of those. I did want to do a quick plug. Like you said, it's customizable to a point today. Not to dismiss what the work we've done up until now. One of our biggest things is that you can create forms for different business needs. So let's say you want to cross-sell your homeowners book of monoline homeowners book of business with the auto. You could create a campaign and a form that takes it down to just auto, build the form around that, send that as the call to action in an email 30 days before renewal. So now we're the thing that you're asking them to go do. And you have some of their information already, right? You already have the basics of it. You just need VIN numbers and things like that. So we're kind of giving you a boost to get that. But those forms in that way are very configurable to get what you need done. So I think cross-selling is a really key use around, because it's not a new client, but it's a new line of business, and use Salt for that.
Yeah. What would you say are some best practices for the agents are using, to get these return submissions?
Yeah, I loved your idea. I think you said, like, when you're out of the office, if you're having an employee retreat, or just, for some reason nobody's there, you post our QR code to your Salt form on your door. So if someone happens to walk up, they do that. So that's great. I think cross-selling, using the form to get the other line of business that you don't have. If you have a commercial lines team, putting it in their footer. Did you know we also offer home and auto insurance? We were in construction, so we were in about 30,000 certificates being issued, which meant 30,000 transactions with someone on the other end that probably needed home and auto insurance. They probably didn't know we did it because they thought we were only a construction agency. So I think using it there, some people have put, when they go to networking events, they've put a QR code on their t-shirt, obviously on printed materials. We have an agency that airdropped the link to the entire restaurant and bar that their agency was at, celebrating a big win. So, and they want an auto quote the next morning. I mean, creative, right? Yeah. So
easy. Yeah.
It's just getting the link deployed, getting your Salt link out there in the hands of referral partners. That's one of our easy wins, is creating a form just for a mortgage lender or a real estate agent that then is sending the link out on your behalf, versus saying, hey, call this guy. And then there's the back and forth and the loop of communication to get that done. So kind of shrinking that process for you.
I want to touch on that really quick, and then I'm going to let you go. I've kept you over time here. So that I believe we do have the capability of allowing a loan officer or a financial planner to use this link, which is brilliant. I saw that on the last training, I think, with Calic. So now, can it be branded to them? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, so we're going to keep your brand at the top throughout the form.
Yeah.
So they're reminded of who they're working with. But the initial form page they see, you can load the referral partner's brand or their headshot, if they want to show themselves off. And then a little introductory text that you write that says, hey, we work with said mortgage company, or mortgage company could be from their voice saying, we work with Brad Bolt over at AmeriGuard. And so they're warmed up to the transaction. They've probably already been told, hey, I'm going to send you this link. Start my home quote now, and you've built a monoline home form in that use case. So build as many forms as you want in the Salt platform. We do not limit that. I think that's the real horsepower behind Salt, is strategizing. Who do I want to work with? Who needs a link? How do I get these things out? I want to build a Facebook campaign. I'm going to go build a specific link. Then you don't struggle with what I struggled as an agency owner. How did you hear about us? Because the link tells you where it came from.
Well, that's perfect for those referral sources, because it's easy for them.
Yep.
And a lot of the good referral sources will ask, how do you want us to refer to you? And this is perfect. I love the idea of having their picture on it.
Yeah.
Brad is who I work with. Here's this super easy form to fill out. It'll take you 3 minutes.
Yep.
He'll
on
have
your phone.
Yeah. I love it. So
easy is the key.
Absolutely. That's what we all want. Casey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brad.
This has been great. This has been fantastic. So everyone else, thank you very much for listening in on another episode of the Agents to Owners podcast. And we'll see you next week. Bye, Casey.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.